your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Beacon Insurance agent in Clinton. My guest in this segment of the morning show is Tony Kirkman. He is the executive director of the Piatt County Mental Health Center. Good morning, Tony. How are you, sir?
Morning, Seth. How are you?
I am doing well. So I need to ask you off the top here. Is it more depressing or exciting that the Bears have the number one overall pick in the draft?
Gosh, I think that probably more depressing because they're actually talking about trading Justin Fields, and I think that guy has earned his contract.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I did not even realize going into week 18 the Bears were even in the running for the first pick. I literally had no idea. Like when they lost and people were like, "Oh, the Bears have the number one pick." I was like, "That's not right. Like this is just like social media speculation." And then I looked and I was like, "Oh, I'll be darned. They do have that number one pick." I just didn't know they were playing that bad, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, like a true Chicago fan, it's next year is our year. It's number one draft pick, Justin Fields, and $100 million in salary cap.
Yeah. They've got by far the most cap space. It'll be interesting what they do. So a lot of areas to try to get better at. But at any rate, Tony, I don't think people want to hear us prattle on about the Bears anymore. We'll get into the important stuff. And it's an interesting conversation you bring with you today, Tony, about finding happiness and finding meaning in our lives. And that's something that you've been reading about, studying here lately. If you don't mind, just kind of what have your studies, where have they taken you? What have you learned?
Yeah, so really this all comes from the most recent Time magazine article. So the whole main stories in the Time magazine are talking about the pursuit of happiness. And it's written by covering a positive psychology expert by the name of Stella Grisant, who is the founder of WHOW, which is, that's fun to say. I don't even know what that means, but I'm sure it has some deep meaning. But it's talking about what are some of the habits, the daily habits that people are participating in that would result in the highest self-reported feelings of happiness. And so they have about 8 different behaviors that they were tracking of people that reported being happy.
And what are those behaviors?
All right. So starting off, it is, and again, when your listeners listen to this, they'll probably be like, nope, not me, because I felt pretty bad after I looked at this list. Number 1 is getting 7 or more hours of sleep.
Nope.
So I failed there.
Yep, me too.
Exercising or playing sports, I'll get a passing grade maybe. A personal hobby like art, writing, music, cooking, gaming, spending time in nature. Interestingly enough, they divide these two. Meditating and praying are 2 totally different factors. Spending time with friends outside of the office or professional setting. Engaging with support groups or therapists, and spending time with family outside of the household.
Interesting. That's a lot of like kind of personal time mixed with interaction time as well there, Tony. What do you make of, it's probably hard to meet all 8 of those, but what do you make of that list?
I think what's interesting, and this is coming from an introverted person. So I find what's interesting is that one of the biggest metrics is community. So it's tracking those people that I think there is a motivational psychologist I enjoy reading. His name is Adam Grant. And he basically says that if you want to have happiness, you will do things that you enjoy doing with the people that you enjoy being with. And that seems very, very simple, but that seems to be what the data is showing is if you want to be happy, start spending more time, quality time with the people that you enjoy being with.
Yeah.
And staying away from the more toxic people.
That sense of community, Tony, is interesting because while we may find community in people that have similar interests as us, whether it's, you and I talking about sports, whether it's, the hobbies that we take up, people that are interested in, gaming, or for perhaps folks that have similar lifestyles and belief systems as us, we find community in those places. But for whatever reason, I just kind of was thinking as you're talking there, like it feels like our sense of community as people has disintegrated in the last, maybe even the last 5 years with COVID and isolation and being safe and all of these things. It feels like that sense of community has, particularly that face to face, that one-on-one or group interaction, in-person interaction. It feels like a lot of that has gone away in recent years. Do you feel that way as well, or am I totally off with that?
No, I think that, again, you hate to keep hanging the world's problems on a health pandemic, but COVID just changed so many things. One is, I think it took away our sense of community as it used to be, where we could, hang out face to face, interact together. You go 18 months with social distancing and social isolation, it's going to have some psychodynamic effects to it, as well as, sadly, I think because of the pandemic and the political layout of our community, is we are more divided, sadly. And it seems like we're allowing media and potentially the press and other influential pieces comment more towards topics that divide us than showcasing the parts where we're really more unified than anything. So, you can turn on the news anytime and find out, well, are you a Republican? Are you a Democrat? Are you, in favor of keeping things the way they used to be or being progressive? But you rarely hear the stories of a community coming together. Just this past Saturday, my wife was commenting about a story she saw where a group of fifth graders were very upset that their fellow classmates that had a disability did not have a place to play on the playground. So they did a $300,000 fundraiser for their friends so that their schools could be more inclusive. And it's like, why is that story getting told more often?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and again, our guest on the phone today, Tony Kirkman, Executive Director of the Piatt County Mental Health Center, on the phone with us. Let's go back to those 8 pillars of, finding happiness, finding meaning. If we need to improve on those areas, Tony, or, perhaps there was 1 or 2 where it's like, I do a little bit of that, but maybe not as much as I could, but I'm really good at this area, like how do we balance all 8 of those things? That because there's a lot there for, a 24-hour period, a week, a month. Like there's a lot there to kind of try to take up and, bring that sense of happiness and meaning and purpose into our life. Again, how do we go about approaching getting better at some of these things?
Yeah, I think that you're exactly right. There's a lot of places where we can have improvement. One of the books that I read last year that was amazing was called Atomic Habits. And it's talking about, not necessarily making these monumental shifts, but looking at it as more of 1% increments that we can implement to get to our goal. There's an African proverb that says, how do you eat an elephant? You eat it one bite at a time.
Right.
So I agree with you 100%. Again, going back to the social thing, and I am extremely guilty of this, is when I have the opportunity to reconnect with friends and it feels good and I say, wow, this is great. When's the last time we got together? I am amazed of how much time has passed between interactions. So I would encourage your guests, if they have people, obviously that they enjoy being around and it's good for them, try to build that into a reoccurring schedule, because we're all slaves to our calendar. And if it's not there, it's going to be eaten up by somebody else. So hey, when you have a cup of coffee or dinner with somebody, try not to end the night without setting the next appointment.
Tony, we were talking before we got started about, you may feel happy, but, that sense of happiness in your life is not there. Like, it's kind of an interesting, polar opposite. Like, I'm happy, but like, I don't feel happiness in my life, or, like, I'm doing something I enjoy, but I don't know that there's much meaning behind it. Like, it's kind of a very, two complete opposites in that, like I said, we can be happy, but maybe we don't feel that sense of happiness. Has that come across in your studies at all on this topic?
Yeah, it's interesting. So there are topics out there about, do you have a life of happiness or do you have a life of meaning? And some of the research that's out there shows that happiness is like this feeling of euphoria. Okay, so I hit the Powerball, and it's these things that are temporary accoutrements to our overall happiness, versus a lifestyle of meaning is a much more deeper sense of purpose or contribution. And a lot of the research that I'm reading shows that a life of meaning might not be, that high state of euphoria, but we get that sense of purpose or meaning by looking at our influence on the world around us, particularly the lives that are around us. So, you might find a life of meaning because you are a big brother, big sister, or an advocate for a social justice project, or you were a foster parent. And most foster parents that I met too, there are many days where they are not happy because it is hard, sacrificial, but it has deep meaning.
Yeah, for sure. You're talking there, Tony, and I'm wondering, perhaps this is a little prickly of a subject, so forgive me, but where does religion, a sense of, or the recognition of a higher purpose, a higher power, come into a sense of meaning in our lives?
Yeah, I think that there's studies and there's research that backs up that meaning, happiness, being able to self-preserve, all shows high correlations with people of faith. And again, I'm not going to, set up camp in either, in any of the groups there. But, when you look at it, just so your listeners understand, I'm a person that would identify as a Christian, and I'm also a person that is a mental health therapist. And I see where faith can make positive contributions. Particularly my faith is very strong on community, like that we are to encourage one another. We are continue to meet together, to have regular interaction. Faith also gives you purpose. So there's a reason why I'm here. There's a reason why I exist. There is a mission and a mission field where I can invest my created, given talents. And so there's hope. There is hope that despite the fact that things might be currently dire, that there is a better outcome in the future. And I think that most people that subscribe to the major tenets of faith would have that purpose, community, and hope.
Tony, anything else on that topic you want to dive into here for this morning?
I just think, again, Seth, I would keep coming back to what Dr. Grant said is do things that you enjoy with the people that you enjoy doing them with.
Very good. Tony, let's take a time out here, my friend. Come back, talk some more. Tony Kirkman, Executive Director of the Piatt County Mental Health Center, my guest on the phone. More to come with him on The Morning Show.
WHOW.
New trucks and SUVs are here. This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton. Yes, we've been waiting, and now we have new inventory on our lot for you to see, with more arriving weekly. Plan your next new Chevrolet purchase. Just click on the pre-order tab. You'll see Silverados in 1500, 2500, and 3500. We have Equinoxes and Trailblazers as well. New Chevrolet inventory in stock now at Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton. BaumChevyBuick.com, right from the start.
Here's owner Dave Jackson from your Clinton Save-A-Lot on how inflation is affecting us.
Inflation rate, and I can't give you the exact number, but it's been like 1%, 1.5%, maybe 2%. It's been a rate that the economy can handle well. Wages go up faster than inflation, or at least as fast. People don't notice it. Now it's multiple times a year. It is not 8%. I don't know where exactly the government comes up with this inflation rate.
Despite that, Dave still provides you selection and savings at your Clinton Save-A-Lot.
Hope to see you soon.
WHOW, the Big 1520 across central Illinois, 92.3 FM in DeWitt County, and 106.5 FM in McLean County is coming to the Argenta Oriana School District. It's the WHOW School Spotlight, broadcasting live from the Argenta Oriana District Office on Tuesday, January 24th from 9 till 10 in the morning. Listen as we visit with the superintendent and administration, talking about the great things they're doing for students when we bring the WHOW School Spotlight to the Argenta Oriana School District on Tuesday, January 24th from 9 till 10. This WHOW School Spotlight stop is brought to you by William McGee Farms, located at 440 White Pigeon Road in Marora, at WilliamMcGeeFarms.com for more info.
Your friend in Central Illinois. WHOW.
Once again, good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Again, my guest on the phone today, Tony Kirkman, Executive Director of the Piatt County Mental Health Center with us. And, Tony, I was telling you in the break there, my mind a lot lately has been going to kids and, all the ththings that they're going through. And I've got actually a topic I want to toss at you when we get done here this morning. Maybe we could dive into down the road. But just from your perspective, Tony, I know you're working with a group involved in telehealth. And one of the things that group is trying to do is reach more young people. Talk about that initiative and just kind of what they're talking about, why that's important.
Yeah, so I'm in regular contact with representatives from what they call the Illinois Telehealth Initiative, and it's a advocacy lobbying group that's trying to introduce the concept of putting telehealth services in every school district in Illinois. So as we've talked about on the air with some of your listeners, is that the Piatt County Mental Health Center had an amazing partnership with 3 school districts in Piatt County to provide behavioral health services to the children in all of these districts. And during that time frame, obviously COVID had happened. And what was nice was as we quickly pivoted to telehealth, we were able to continue the care continuum with these guys that were actively engaged with our therapists, despite the fact that the schools were closed down, as well as we were able to interact with the students during the summer breaks when they would typically not be in school and may have other access issues of trying to get to our facilities. So the Illinois Telehealth Initiative is trying to provide funding for local school districts so that they can bill the state of Illinois and being reimbursed so that they can introduce those services to each district.
Gotcha. Very good. So when it comes to, Tony, just that outreach towards youth, we know kids are on their devices, their phones, tablets when they get home, all of those things. How do you actually reach them, though? How do you make them aware of these resources so they can use them in a moment of need?
Yeah, well, I think it really just comes down to having a rapport. And I believe that as a community mental health center, we should be interwoven into the fabric of the community. So one of the best things for social service providers is word of mouth referrals. So you might not need us now, but in the event that a need presents itself, you will remember us. And so we have a great relationship with all of the school administrators in both the DeWitt and Piatt counties, as well as a very strong working collaboration with the social workers. So the social workers really are the people that maintain the relationships with the student body, and they are the ones that make the decision to how to triage mental health needs. And we are blessed enough to be a part of that community action plan.
Very good. Tony, I look at the clock. I've got about a minute and a half. Anything else on that topic you want to point out that we haven't touched on yet?
I would just say keep an eye on your kids. Going back to the very conversation that we had, is sadly, social media and electronic devices allow students to socially isolate. It is imperative that they have physical engagement with other students and with their loved ones. So getting them to hang out together, to go to social events, or just be downstairs in the basement and living room with their parents watching a movie. We need that close proximity because, again, if we allow it to, kids can just live a lifestyle completely by themselves in their own bedroom, and that's not healthy.
Sure. No doubt about it. We should probably dive into that topic as well, maybe down the road. Tony, in the meantime, where do folks go to keep up with all things Piatt County Mental Health Center, learn more about your services and just those things? Where do they go? Who do they call?
Yeah, would love to hear from you. Give me a call, 217-762-5371. Check us out online on Facebook or visit us on our website. It's PiattMHC.org.
Tony Kirkman, Executive Director of the Piatt County Mental Health Center, my guest on the phone for today. The morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Network news on the way on the morning show.